In this video, I'm going to walk you through 5 ways you can increase your SaaS MRR without spending a single penny on marketing. And you should listen to me because my SaaS did over $1 million in revenue, did 100K a month, before then selling it for 7 figures last year. And along that journey, I managed to get our churn down from around 16% to 6%. And I did all of this without spending a single penny on paid ads. Now, the first thing that I want you to do is rebuild your pricing page. Now, this is based upon the experiments that I tested that I just found work, as well as also looking at leaders in the space. Now, the first thing I want you to do is make sure your annual plan is default with 3 different tiers, with one of your tier, ideally in the middle one, having a most popular tab. And ideally you want to frame the discount that they get on the annual plan as the number of free months they get rather than percentage off, because when they look at percentage off, like, what does that even mean? Whereas if you frame it as months, it's really easy for someone to understand the value they're getting. And to give you an example of this, if you look at Monday, now in your case, I would recommend not having a free and either having a enterprise plan or a pro plan here. You can see that they've added the most popular badge. They've set the annual as the default selected, and they've got a very clear set of CTAs. Now, what really takes it to the next stage is when you add a one-click annual upgrade in Stripe. And what I mean by this, if you see here, you see when I'm on the Stripe pricing page, you can see it's a custom checkout page with the option to save by switching to annual. And the reason you should be pushing your annual plan so much, not only in the pricing, but also on your checkout page, is 1, obviously you get the cash up front, but 2, your annual plan will have a much lower churn. So cash up front, lower churn, it's an absolute no-brainer for SaaS businesses. And what you can also do is test price increases. With Claude Code, it's so easy to be able to set up A/B testing on your pricing. And what I actually want you to do here is if you go to Claude Code, you can actually connect it to Posthog, which is a product analytics software, and split test your pricing page and flow between the current price and a higher price variant, typically around 20% higher. You can then ask Claude Code to tag each visitor with their variant and track it all the way through to paid conversion. And again, you can do this automatically with Claude Code and the Posthog MCP. And you can come back after 7 to 14 days and you can just ask Posthog and Claude Code, tell me the result of this test. And this gives you a very easy way in order to figure out the optimal pricing for your SaaS, which is something a lot of SaaS founders face. I will actually add in the first link in the description this full SaaS Quick Wins SOP if you want to get access to these prompts. Now, moving on to step 2, and that is connecting up Posthog, which you've already done in step 1, to Stripe, and using the data that you collect in order to figure out how to improve your onboarding. Now, in order to make this work, you need to obviously connect Posthog to your website and to your app. You're then going to go to the data pipeline section in Posthog and connect up Stripe. What this is going to allow you to do is going to be able to tag all the features in your SaaS in order to see which users are using which features, as well as also what plan they're on. So whether they're a high paying customer, whether they cancel, what the MRR, the LTV, the annual revenue per user, etc. And then what you're going to do is you're going to go to Claude Code, again, connected to the Posthog MCP, and you're going to ask it to tag all the main events that someone could do on your software. Now, what that's going to do is it's going to allow you to understand which features people are using, and then you're going to ask it to build 3 dashboards. You're going to ask it to build the onboarding conversion funnel from landing page visit to paid upgrade. Then you're going to ask it to build a feature adoption dashboard and then also a retention cohort chart. And again, this is sort of what this looks like when it's all done. It custom builds you all of these dashboards. Now, when I built and sold my SaaS for 7 figures, I had to analyze all of this data manually to figure out which features, if which used, is more likely to get someone to stay and pay. However, using this prompt and what we can now do with Claude Code, you can come back 4 weeks later and you can get it to analyze the last 28 days of Fusion session data and Stripe subscription data. And not only can you get it to summarize the data, but you can also get it to find the single action that most correlated with users still being active and paying after that period, as well as also figure out the biggest drop-off points in the sign up to activation funnel. And it's going to give you a prioritized list of things to improve. Now, this is the kind of thing that a consultant would have literally charged maybe tens of thousands to do. But off the back of that, you're getting data-backed recommendations of how to improve your product to drive people towards the features that's most likely to get them to retain and stay on your product. But it's also going to give you data-backed improvements of how to improve your visitor to paid funnel. Now, the third thing that I want you to do is set up ICP-based onboarding. If you've ever seen after you've created an account on a software, typically there'll be a form where you can tell the software a little bit about you, like what your role is, the kind of company you're at, team size, etc., etc. And a lot of SaaS businesses that have this do not do the right things with it. Now, what I want you to do is, after someone has completed the onboarding, I want you to show that question. I want you to ask the user which kind of ICP they are, i.e. what their role is. So for example, at the software business that I sold, there was two different types of users. There was agency owners and there were small business owners. Now, the goal of an agency owner compared to a small business owner is very different. One probably wants to offer services to the clients, whereas the other wants to do stuff on their own website, do stuff with their own business in order to grow. My software was an SEO software. And off the back of what they answer, you're then going to be able to personalize the experience and the copy and the communications to them in order to obviously make it more personalized, which increases retention, but also customize the messages that you give to them to boost retention and make it more likely that they'll stay, pay, and upgrade to a higher plan. Now, typically what I do, depending on the branch that they then put themselves down, i.e. depending upon the route that they go, based upon what they answer, I will then customize the first feature that loads because the different users might have different features that they're most likely to adopt. The templates which preload, for example, Shopify does this in their onboarding, which based upon what you're selling, they will show the most relevant templates to you so it's faster to build your dream website, which sample data shows, and the system prompts that run in any AI features. Now, you'll see on my channel that I'm really recommending SaaS businesses at the moment to move from a system of knowledge to a system of action, where AI generates outputs and completes action or execution for your users. Now, one of the main ways that you can improve this is change the system prompt. So depending upon the user, the output that they get is more likely to be customized for them. On top of that, you can also create personalized onboarding flows depending upon your user so they get pushed towards the features that are going to be most helpful to them. Now, how I do this, again, is using Claude Code. I'll ask it to review the code base and assess what happens across my software and propose a plan of action to customize these towards each ICP. Now, obviously, you don't want to have two completely custom flows for your different users, but just by making a few changes, especially to your onboarding and the different things that you do in your onboarding through doing progressive disclosure, i.e. only highlighting the most relevant features to the certain users when they need them most, you can really make a massive difference. And then after you've reviewed and customized that plan, you can then add this prompt into Claude Code in order to customize your SaaS to those users. Now, the fourth thing I want you to do is implement a cancellation flow and a win back sequence. I recommend that you install something like churn key, which essentially, as you can see here, is going to ask them when someone wants to cancel or downgrade, the reason why they want to cancel. Now, off the back of the reason that they select, when they click continue, you can see it's going to give them an offer based upon the reason they're picking. So if they say it's too expensive, you can give them a discount. If they're facing bugs, you can offer a one-on-one call or offer them the chance to share the bug so you can quickly fix it. If they're moving to another tool, you can ask them what tool it is to figure out which competitors your customers are moving to. Or even if you have a done for you option, you can see you have the ability to push them towards your own done for you option if they're hiring someone to do it for them instead. So what this is going to do, it's not only going to reduce your churn, but for the users that do cancel, it allows you to understand the reason so you can improve the product and then schedule a win back sequence to them that's going to go out to them over the 90 days in order to get them back to your software. Now, on this document, which is the first link in the description, I've got tons of different ideas that you can do here, as well as what can be in the sequence. But if you just start off by adding churn key to begin with or building your own custom version, you're going to be collecting data which you can actually do stuff with, and then obviously you can customize what happens off the back of that. Now, the fifth and final thing that I want you to do is all around revenue recovery, essentially adding pre-dunning into your SaaS business. What I want you to do is first turn on Stripe Smart Retries. So whenever someone cancels a payment, Stripe is going to automatically retry their card based on what it thinks is most likely to get a successful payment. I then want you to enable Stripe's Credit Card Updater, CAU. Whenever someone's card expires, it essentially has a system that it uses to automatically update the cards to the new card that they'll get. So you know when your card expires, you automatically get sent a new card. It's actually a centralized database of all the new cards that someone gets. And by adding this, I believe it's around 25 cents per time it actually does it, you're actually going to be able to automatically update any updated cards within your paying customers to reduce the number of people that essentially go through involuntary cancellation. So where they don't mean to cancel, but either through failed payments or the credit card expiring, they essentially lose access to your software. Now, on top of that, what I actually like to do is, again, using Claude Code or something like Zapier, is actually automatically outreach to people when their cards are expiring. So if you know someone's card is expiring, you can outreach to them 7 days before in order to ask them to update it by the native Stripe card management dashboard. Now, if all of this doesn't work, you can then actually put in a sequence after their card fails or their card expires in order to bring them back. However, I found from experience, it's typically the things that you would do here that would generate you money, because after the card has failed, it's very hard in order to get someone back. However, if you implement all of this, I can pretty much guarantee you that you will increase your SaaS MRR without spending a single dollar on customer acquisition. Now, if you found that helpful and you want to get access to the remaining 5 steps on this SOP, check out the first link in the description. And if you want to work with me to scale your SaaS to 100K a month and exit, you can check out the second link in the description, where I work with founders one-on-one to help them achieve exactly what I did. And if you found this helpful, hopefully I'll see you in the next video.